welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 82, otherwise known as season 5, episode 4. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing fine. Not too much to update on. Just happy to be here as always.
We're doing this on a Monday morning, which is weird, but that's my fault because I had 2 15-hour days where I couldn't record. Also with us yet again is your other host, John Correa. How you doing, Correa?
Finally kind of starting to feel like a human again. The other reason why we couldn't record this weekend was because I was sleeping the whole weekend. My production company recorded its first pilot last week. We shot 2 episodes in one day, and boy howdy was it hectic. I think I slept all day Friday. Like we prepped Wednesday, shot both on Thursday, and then I did returns all Friday morning, and then was out cold for most of the day. So yeah, most of the weekend was spent catching back up on sleeps. But
yeah, but you would have woken up to record if I could have done it. So it's all pretty much my fault.
Oh yeah,
I had to work from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. both days. So
oh yeah,
it was ridiculous.
I've basically been fueled by Bang energy drink. I get like a case, sent by Amazon now once a month, and like it usually lasts me like 2 weeks. This lasted me a week.
Oh, I tried Bang as a substitute for Monster when it was on sale at Costco. It's gross, dude. Monster's much better.
Oh, it's all gross. It's all disgusting. I hate everything. Like I hate energy drinks, but I hate coffee, the taste of coffee more. I just need the caffeines. It gives me a lot.
I can't even stand the smell of coffee. So yeah, energy drinks are way better. Before we hop into things, we have some exciting news, and we might need your help. We've been nominated for a Rondo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Granted, the list of nominees literally looks like just a list of horror podcasts. So it's kind of funny to say we're nominated because there's like 30 nominees. But the cool thing is they thought of us. That's my big thing, because there are a lot of other podcasts where, because you can write in if it's not on the list. It's basically you can vote for whoever you want. But we're one of the actual suggestions, which is really cool. So yeah. Vote for us. We're going to shill for this because we're up against some heavyweights, and I really don't want to be embarrassed. I would like to have a pretty decent showing since we are one of the choices. It's a little clunky the way you vote. You have to copy the ballot and then paste it in an email and send it to the guy who has an AOL email address. I think he's been doing it this way for years and it works for him. So
as is tradition.
Yeah. But best podcast is category 19. So you don't have to vote for every category. If you just want to vote for us, just copy that part in and send it off to him. We'll link to the website. But yeah, give us a Rondo award so we're not going to win.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, we are very excited though to even just be listed with there's some amazing podcasts on this list.
Yeah, Faculty of Horror, Movie Crypt. I mean, there are some heavy hitters, and we're amongst them. So that's pretty awesome. And we do have Jacob on the team who never loses.
It's my gift and my curse.
It is an honor. And if you don't know about the Rondo Hot and Classic Horror Awards, they honor the best in classic horror research, creativity, and film preservation. This is the 20th year of it. And so we're very excited to be nominated and couldn't be more grateful. So because now we're an award nominated podcast.
Anyway, so we got that out of the way. You only are allowed to vote once. So like I said, it's a clunky process, but you only have to do it once. So throw your buddies in at Eye on Horror a bone and vote for us so we don't get embarrassed. And maybe we'll be nominated next year too. I don't know how they do the nominations. It might just be whatever the guy who runs it can think of to nominate, because there are a lot of nominations in every category. It's not just like 5 things like a regular award, like the Oscars or something. So did I just compare the Rondos to the Oscars?
Yes, you did.
It's more important to us.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
What have you guys been doing lately? I mean, have you guys been, I know that the big thing that we've all watched, we have to save because it's going to seg into our topic. So what else have you guys been seeing?
I saw Studio 666.
Oh,
Foo Fighters horror comedy.
How is
movie.
that? Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of fun. It's basically the Foo Fighters as the Scooby-Doo gang, but in The Evil Dead.
The Foo Fighters, I mean, I know that Grohl and Taylor are just super charismatic. So I imagine that that's just a lot of fun. Hopefully, are there 4 other guys in that band now? There's a ton of guys in the Foo. They get bigger every time I see a picture
Let's
of them.
see. It was six people.
6 guys in the band. Yeah, that band gets bigger every time you see it. It started out with just Grohl on all instruments, and now there's 6 guys.
Well, it's been a band for like 20 years, but it is also kind of funny because it is self-referential about the band being old, because it's about the Foo Fighters needing to come up with a new album, so they decide to rent out this old like recording studio in Hollywood, but it's got an evil past and there's been murders there, and like another band was killed there, and Dave Grohl slowly starts to go Jack Torrance obsessed over trying to come up with a new song, and there's an amazing and surprising amount of cameos. Like this isn't much of a spoiler because he's in the credits, but Will Forte's in it, and yeah, man, he's just great because he's like this delivery guy with this like indie band that keeps on trying to give his demo to Dave Grohl while trying to deliver him buffalo wings. And
I love it.
There's some pretty great creature and blood effects. It was directed by BJ McDonnell, who did Hatchet 3. So yeah, the gore is really over the top and wild. There's a scene involving Dave Grohl, a chainsaw, and some other people in bed that was really a lot of fun. And, I'm just always a fan of meta comedies where, like, I don't know, actors or musicians or whatever play kind of exaggerated versions of themselves.
Oh, yeah. Like, this is the end.
Yes. Yeah. I was just thinking this would make a great double feature, but this is the end.
The thing with Grohl has a lot of friends, I think. I think he's just a really popular and affable guy. So it doesn't surprise me there's a ton of cameos. Just without spoiling anything, just a yes or no. Is the D in it? Tenacious D?
Sadly, no.
Oh, all right.
But John Carpenter and Cody Carpenter are in it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, because they helped compose the theme song with the Foo Fighters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it was a very fun movie. And, it didn't do so hot at the box office, unfortunately. So I'm really hoping it rebounds on like digital and video. They
were going completely on word of mouth. I mean, I don't know a single press person who got an invite to a screening or a link or anything. It didn't have a huge, it was all basically just the Foo Fighters promoting it. I think they dropped the ball with promoting it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the trailers and commercials, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of buzz about it. I don't really get what happened, but I guess it's just kind of the way it went.
Yeah. Another thing I saw this week besides our topic movie, and I'm hoping that you guys have seen it too. It's kind of horror, fringe horror. The Batman. Did you see the Batman? Yes. Okay. The Batman.
Nope.
We don't want to spoil too much. Korea's shaking his head. We don't want to spoil too much, but let's just say people have been comparing it to Seven, David Fincher's Seven, and it's completely apt because the Batman brings back the Batman detective. Batman has always been a detective more than a crime fighter.
World's
in the early
greatest detective. It was his manager.
Yeah. So this one has him, basically, solving crimes and cracking codes and Paul Dano's Riddler is, I mean, we've made my man crush on Paul Dano, obvious on this. I still think he was robbed for not getting an Oscar nom for Love and Mercy. But anyway, his Riddler is horrifying. It's almost like it's like a cross between the Zodiac Killer and Patrick Bateman. He's just this psycho. And the thing is, he's right. And just like I say Bane was right and I say Thanos was right, the Riddler is freaking right. And what he does is he's basically a serial killer and he's exposing corruption in Gotham City's political and government system. Granted, he's doing it by killing people, so that's not so right, but his heart is in the right place. And of course, Batman is on the side of the right. Although it's kind of interesting, though, that Riddler considers himself a vigilante, just like Batman. So it's like two sides of a coin. It's a head scratcher. The two things people are up in arms about. First of all, Robert Pattinson, the motherfucker can act. He is great in it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the 3-hour running time, which, I do think it's a little padded, but they were going for epic scale and it was never boring to me. It didn't feel like a 3-hour movie. So I was kind of cool with that too. So, the Batman, it's going to be as much fun for a horror fan as a movie can be, as a superhero movie could be, I guess. What do you think, Jacob? What do you think?
I loved it. I thought it was great, and I agree that it was cool that it focused more on the psychological and mystery elements rather than action. Because we've had plenty of Batman action movies, but this is the first one that went very cerebral with it. And also, I thought John Turturro was really great in it. He plays the crime boss Carmine Falcone, and he. It's a more subtle performance, but he's just as scary as some of the other villains in the movie. Like, he has some pretty standout scenes, but also conversely, Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman was really great too, especially because, between Riddler and her, it's like a comparison of like vigilantism and like who's fighting and how.
It's a very sensitive, sympathetic portrayal of Catwoman because she's not seen as a supervillain. She's an ally of Batman's. And she kind of plays second fiddle for a lot of the movie. I mean, it doesn't take away from Zoe Kravitz's performance, but I didn't think that they used Catwoman as much as they could have. She was just as a tool for Batman to solve his crime, I thought. And she had her own motives.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I felt like she had her own arc, so I don't quite agree with that. But yeah, no, and also just in terms of the movie, the aesthetic and just kind of the production design on Gotham City was incredibly well done. Just kind of feeling like it was right out of the comics, and just the set pieces were, between, like the buildings and everything was just amazing. I just figured it was a really interesting take on Batman overall, that one that hasn't really been done cinematically before, and I actually want to see it again, like in IMAX.
It's weird because I think it's my second favorite Batman movie behind The Dark Knight, and the only reason I put The Dark Knight higher is because I think Heath Ledger is a little bit better of a Joker than Paul Dano is of a Riddler. And I love Paul Dano as a Riddler, but Heath Ledger is an amazing Joker. I do want to see Robert Pattinson's Batman fight Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, although I don't want to spoil anything, but that's not going to happen because if they're setting this up to be a series.
Yeah, no, I like what what DC's doing now, where they're just kind of doing these kind of standalone-ish movies, and they're not doing like a shared continuity thing.
This won't be standalone.
Well, I mean, I don't mean standalone as in, like it's going to be just one and done. I just mean that it's not going to connect to that other movie.
Okay, yeah. It's not going to connect to Zack Snyder's Snyderverse.
That's done.
This is the Matt Reeves-averse.
Yep.
I've been saying it for years that DC already had the perfect model on how to do like their stories, and that's their animated universe, because they did do a connected like Justice League story for like 20 or so animated films, while at the same time still adapting and having original stories, but also adapting like specific graphic novels and stuff. And it's like, dude, if you do that, you could technically have 3 Batman movies come out a year and they'd be totally different movies, like, and I want, as excited as I am for the Batman, I want Goofy Batman back. Like,
Adam West Batman.
We haven't had a fun, goofy Batman movie since Lego Batman movie, and I thought that was an amazing Batman Joker relationship portrayed in that one.
There's nothing goofy about this Batman, about the Batman at all. It's weird because the thing is, one of the first needle drop in the movie is Nirvana's "Something in the Way," and that sets the tone for the whole. You can almost hear the rain coming. It's not quite like The Crow, but that's the kind of tone of it. It's like, it's just real dark and dreary and
complete
brooding.
With eyeshadow.
Yeah. Well, I think all Batmen have the eyeshadow to keep.
Well, this is the first time we've seen Bruce Wayne with the eyeshadow before putting on the mask.
Okay.
We always see it post mask, never pre-mask. So I didn't watch the Batman, but I did finally correct a wrong that happened to me this year. Watch a really great disaster movie, which, as we all know, I did not like Moonfall, but I absolutely loved The Burning Sea, which is the new movie from the producers of The Wave and The Quake. It's a Norwegian disaster film all about it takes place in the Norwegian Sea, in the North Sea, and these kind of Titanic plates shift, which is causing like oil rigs to go down. They make reference to Deepwater Horizon, but it was just basically they were like, oh yeah, how bad is it? They're like, oh, Deepwater Horizon. That was just one thing. We have 135 in this sea, and it's like, oh snap. And it's fantastic. They do a great job with the tension. All the, there's not as great of character development as the previous two films. They have a whole new cast and people, because the first two films kind of follow this one guy and his family, which after two natural disasters of this one guy being involved with, you're kind of like, all right, you're stretching it a little thin.
Is it the same guy in The Wave and The Quake?
No, it's a new set of characters, but their roles make sense, like why they're there. So like the main character, she's a robotics engineer, and her and her coworker, they work on these kind of like snake robots that are aquatic, and they're used to like retrieve stuff from deep underwater. And so they get brought in by the oil company to see if there's any survivors, because a platform fell off. And from there, they start to realize, oh, wow, this is much bigger than what it is. And her boyfriend is an oil rig worker. And they really do a good job of going into how important like the oil rigging is to the economy of that area, like the dynamics of it. And it's really interesting, like the points that they go like, oh, what if the moment you meet the oil corporation, they go, you have to sign this NDA. And it's like, oh, are we going to get evil corporation thing? But they don't get cartoony with it, because sometimes, with that, it's like, we have to keep production going no matter what. With this, they're like, no, we have to excavate people now. There's like one person who's at one point just goes, so what happens if we keep working until it happens? They're like, oh, and they demonstrate it using a pen. Like, if we don't pull this thing out, it will dump all this oil out into the thing, and it will cause catastrophic likeness to not only the environment, but to the economy of like every country touching the sea, which is most of Europe. But it's really fantastic. The tension is there. There's no real like, oh, that was a dumb move. You did a dumb thing just to create tension. Like everything happens for a reason. Again, this series of films, they follow every plot point, every trope of like a Hollywood disaster film, but they just use it as like a blueprint to actually do some really good stuff. There's no like, you'll see it like, especially in Moonfall, you get like the cowboy that comes in and it's like, you're the only one that can save us, Max Strong Man. There's no character like that. Everyone's just like a person who just happens to know things because of their job, and they're kind of.
There's no Ron Perlman in Don't Look Up.
Yeah, exactly. There's no space cowboy coming in to save the day. The effects are really great. There's this very harrowing moment where like shit goes absolutely wrong. So oil is just pouring out, and they go, what happens if this happens? Well, it's going to basically destroy the entire economy of Norway, and everyone's devastated. They're like, oh my God. And then they go, and then it's going to go to every other country. It's going to go to England. It's going to hit this. It's going to hit this. And it's going to take over a century to clean up. And they're like, well, what do we do? And they're like, we have to set the sea on fire. And you're like, what? How are they going to set the sea on fire?
So it's not just a clever name.
No, dude. No, they legitimately fire missiles at the sea, which sounds ridiculous, but it makes sense. Like it's not Moonfall where the moon's falling into the, you know what I mean? And that was really,
this sounds like an asylum flick.
No, it's the exact opposite, dude. Like this series of films, I can't rave about The Wave, The Quake, and now The Burning Sea enough. These films are entertaining. They're well made.
I think I've only seen The Wave of the three, but I loved it. I thought it was terrific. It's like you said, it's just nonstop tension.
Dude, that highway scene in The Wave when they're trying to like go up the zigzag highway while the wave is coming is so harrowing. And it's just so interesting, like, because we love disaster movies in my house. So we're like, as soon as we finish it, we're like, fuck, do we go back and watch The Wave? And I was like, no. I have this Korean tsunami movie called Tidal Wave. Let's watch that. And it's almost a comedy. Like it's like an hour and 20 minutes before you actually get to any tidal wave stuff. And there's just like a lot of goofy stuff happening with the characters. And I'm like, this is not the disaster movie I need right now. I need emotional stakes. I need high tension. That movie was so weird. Like I couldn't finish it, but yeah, Burning Sea, The Wave, and The Quake. I can't recommend those movies enough. Go watch them. They're so much fun.
I saw another thing that is kind of just tangentially horror. It's actually not horror at all, but it does have a monster. That new movie Turning Red.
Oh yeah, the Pixar movie,
the animated, the Pixar movie.
I was gonna say, that's a Pixar movie. That's
it is. You know what the thing is?
French guy at it again.
It connects. Trust me.
Okay.
At first, I thought that it was going to be because basically it's about this little girl who she just randomly starts turning into a big red panda monster, and at first I thought it was going to be just like a thinly veiled metaphor for puberty and turning red, menstruation kind of a thing, but it turns out it's kind of more. Without giving too much away, it's kind of more on the Teen Wolf side of things where she turns into this big panda and she figures out what makes her turn into this panda. So it gets to a point where she can kind of do it on will. And of course she uses it not to join the basketball team exactly like in Teen Wolf, but she uses it for gain at school and stuff.
Does she join the wrestling team like in Teen Wolf 2?
No,
the Superior film,
nothing like that. But it's her and her friends want to go see this boy band called, I think they're called Four Town, but they need I think it's $200 a ticket or something like that. So they find a way to make money, put it that way, using the red panda. Anyway, it's cute. It's by the time this posts, it will already be on, I think Disney Plus is where it's going to be. So you'll be able, by the time this posts, if you care about it, you've probably already seen it, but it's fun, and it does have a monster. So I'm talking about it on iHorror.
On my end, I just got the new 4K release of John Woo's Hard Target, which I don't think I'd ever seen the whole thing, but yeah, it was produced. And also I didn't even realize it was produced by Sam Raimi. So, and it kind of has, or it just kind of feels like it's in style with him because it is one of the most over the top 90s action movies I think I've ever seen. Yeah. So it's basically like Lance Henriksen and I was a trouble with his name. Arnold Vosloo are bad guy mercenaries who run a most dangerous game thing in New Orleans where rich people can hunt homeless veterans, and they have the wrong veteran killed who had family, and then she's looking for her father, and then Jean Claude Van Damme is this veteran named Chance Bourdeau, who
very New Orleans.
Oh yeah, who hooks up with her and tries to help her find her father and like expose and stop the human hunting ring. And oh my god, this movie is so over the top. I loved it. Of course, there's the classic stuff with like Jean Claude Van Damme beating up a snake. He like punches a rattlesnake and then uses it as a trap. And one of the things I love that my roommate pointed out while we were watching is that he repeatedly shoots people and then roundhouse kicks them to make sure they're extra dead.
Are they still standing up? He shoots them and before they fall down?
They're just still standing and then he just like roundhouse kicks them and then they're dead. And Lance Henriksen is really good in it as the bad guy role because like he's this experienced hunter and he's got this special custom gun that's just like this pistol rifled with like one giant bullet that he uses just like blow shit up. And yeah, and of course Wilford Brimley plays a Cajun moonshiner and best friend of Jean Claude Van Damme who helps them out and like lay traps and stuff in the swamps.
What's his name?
Uncle Dove.
Okay. Not quite as good as Chance Bourdeau.
Yeah, no, they do speak French repeatedly through the movie, and it is just kind of funny to see Wilford Brimley go as Cajun as humanly possible, and also drink pure moonshine.
Which all of that makes sense because like Jean-Claude Van Damme has a very thick French accent, and I always really appreciate in 90s action films with Jean-Claude Van Damme where they try to explain his accent. And so like, it just makes sense. Like, oh yeah, he's from New Orleans. It's like, oh, okay, that works. Or like
he's the muscles from Brussels.
Yeah, he's the muscles from Brussels. But then there's also like sudden death where it's like, why are you here, Mr. thickly Frenched man? And they're like, oh yeah, he was French Special Forces. He's Darren McCord. And, but now he's in Chicago. I think it's Chicago. What a fun Die Hard ripoff that Sudden Death was.
I gotta see that one. But yeah, Hard Target's a lot of fun, and there's a particularly amazing set piece where they use an actual Mardi Gras parade warehouse of all these crazy ass Mardi Gras floats and puppets and stuff, and just have a shoot on there. And when they shoot stuff like confetti and beads explode everywhere, it's like as New Orleans an action movie can get. And this is put out by Kino Lorber, and it's an amazing transfer too, like one of the best 4Ks I've seen. And yeah, no, just it holds up especially well. Like I could watch it like a dozen more times.
Yeah, it makes for a great Mardi Gras double feature with Bad Lieutenant Protocol New Orleans.
Oh yeah, that would be a great double feature.
Fantastic.
Let's move on. We've been saving something else that we all saw for now because we're going to lead into our topic. Let's talk Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022.
Yeah, let's do it.
We've all watched it. What do you guys think?
I had a realization right before watching it.
I'm so glad you started talking first.
Yeah.
Yes, I really want to hear this.
I had a realization right before I hit play that since I've been watching movies, cognitive enough to watch it, so like 10 or 12, basically since the first remake of Texas Chainsaw came out, I have never been excited for a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie coming out. So my expectations were pretty low for this, and you know what? It was fine. There was a few segments involving modern technology that really irritated me. But you know what? The character development wasn't too great with a lot of it. There was some stuff that I really dug what they did with some of the characters. There was a lot of stuff about gentrification, because it's all about this group of millennials coming in to revitalize Harlow, Texas. And, that's where Leatherface has been kind of not in hiding, but has just been like kind of.
It's where he's been living.
It's where he's been living. Yeah. Laying low, he's been taken care of there. And through a series of unfortunate events, Leatherface gets unleashed again. And the cinematography in it is very phenomenal. There's a lot of shots in it where I was like, man, that is beautiful. And the kills are great. There's some really fantastic kills in there. There's a scene where Leatherface just goes onto a bus full of people.
Yeah. So I was going to say, this is our first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie where there's actually a chainsaw massacre.
Yeah.
Because he goes onto a full bus. And, this isn't really spoiling anything because it's going to happen as soon as you see it starting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he massacres an entire bus full of people. And it's beautiful.
As it was happening, because you see the bus, as soon as they go, everyone in the bus, you're like, oh, this is going to happen. Next act, this is going to happen. And then you see him enter the bus. And I was sitting there, I was all giddy. And then they had everyone whip out their phones to fucking Facebook Live it. And that's when I went, fuck you, movie.
And doesn't one of them say something like, you're about to be canceled or something stupid like that?
Oh, yeah. That was very cringe.
Horror filmmakers, please, you do not need to insert. There's another modern technology thing at the end that I will not spoil, but that's when I super went, I'm glad this movie is over, because that bit, you don't need to insert modern technology stuff all the time into things. That totally killed the momentum of the scene. Like once he started the massacre, it was dropped and no one was on their phones anymore. Cause understandable. You're going to not be on your phone during that. And it was harrowing. It was traumatizing. The comparisons that they did to, because one of the characters who's played by the actress from 8th grade,
Elsie Fisher.
There we go. Elsie Fisher. Her character survived a school shooting. So there's a lot of talk and stuff in that. And during the bus massacre scene, they make those comparison flashback shots with it, which makes it which gives like a bigger impact to like the trauma that's happening to anyone who may survive that. And it's just undercut with the fucking Facebook Live thing. And like, I loved so much of what was happening with that scene. It's just that one little like bit in the beginning of it that just like took me out of it hard. But yeah, I thought it was really great. They brought back Marilyn, the character at least.
Yeah, they couldn't bring back Marilyn Burns.
Yeah, and I was kind of excited to see how they were gonna not do the potential of them not doing like what they did with Laurie Strode's in Halloween. And, I kind of like the idea of her kind of being like possibly as bad as Leatherface, because it looked like she was going to use like some of the survivors as bait for him. But they really didn't do much with her. You could have almost just dropped her whole thing and it wouldn't have changed much,
Yeah, and also like she's got a backstory now where she was a Texas Ranger,
which was awesome and made total sense. Like I dug that, but like she didn't really do much.
They tried to Ripley her. They tried to turn her into
Laurie Strode.
They tried to turn her into like a Sarah Connors kind of a thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't think that really worked. Like you, Korea, my bar was set so low on this because I'm like, are you kidding me? I love the 2003 Texas Chainsaw, but the other ones, 3D and that last Leatherface one,
they're new just beginning.
Those have just not done it for me. So my bar was set pretty low. And for what it is, I really, really enjoyed it. It's not going to make my top 10 list, but first of all, it's the perfect length. It's like 84 minutes, 85 minutes. It's like it gets in, gets bloody, gets out, and there you are. I was irritated by some of the same things as you, like Jacob said, that cancel line is just cringe. You're like, oh, really? Who wrote this and how did it end up in the finished movie? But just for what it is, which is a movie about a guy carving people up with a chainsaw, I was fine with it.
I really don't understand the extreme reactions people are having to this movie. There are people that absolutely loathe this movie, and there are people that absolutely are head over heels over it. And I thought it was fine. Like I had fun. I walked away. It didn't commit the mortal sin of being boring. I am able to recall a lot of the movie after, and that speaks high volumes to me. But yeah, people are getting very toxic online over this one, and it just doesn't feel worth it.
And they're getting defensive. Like if you don't like it, and someone who does, they want to fight you. Yeah. It's like, dude, relax. It's a movie. How boring would the world be if we all had the same opinions?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same consensus that I thought it was an okay movie. Expectations were low, of course, but like Jonathan said, it wasn't boring, so that's always a plus. I think its biggest problem actually was that it was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, because I really feel like if it was just its own thing, it probably would have gotten higher regard. Because it's just basically a straight up old school rough and tumble slasher. It's just if it didn't have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre trappings, then it would have had a lot more leg to stand on. Because the other thing is like you got Leatherface, but where are the other Sawyers?
Yeah.
Because a big thing of what the more recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies miss about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is that it wasn't just Leatherface, it was his family. Like he wasn't even like the main bad guy in the first few Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. He's like an instrument of the Sawyer family. Yeah. So it's just he was more iconic. So it just kind of turned to like a Jason or Freddy thing where Leatherface became the face of the franchise, and they kept on using him even if the context was not exactly befitting.
Well, I mean, that's definitely prevalent in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, because that's when New Line took over the series. And they wanted their next Freddy. They wanted their next Jason fighter. You know what I mean?
You mean Texas Chainsaw, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw 3?
Yes, sorry. Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That one
3.
Still had the family, though. Like hardcore had the family.
Yeah, it had, what's his name from Lord of the Rings?
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah. But the focus still, when you look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2, when Tobe Hooper was in charge, the focus was hardcore more on the Sawyers, and like Leatherface's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, the title.
Right.
Which I still to this day say the best part of that movie is the teaser, the Excalibur-esque chain coming out of the water.
Yeah, man. If only we had gotten that movie. although I do like Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And again, it does actually have his family in it, at least.
Yeah. So let's steer this towards what our topic is, which it's going to be what's the new Scream movie lovingly calls requels. I don't know if I've ever heard that term before that. Was that a thing? Requel before?
Yeah,
Scream?
I'd heard the term used before in regards to kind of recent trends in cinema franchises.
But it mainly what it is it's sort of like they're movies that kind of take the ball and run with it from something like I don't want to call them remakes and I don't want to call them sequels. So requels is kind of weird, but like Halloween, the 2018 Halloween, it basically ignores everything that happened from the second sequel on and, you know, just starts it again. So it's a requel. And that's kind of what we're doing here with Texas Chainsaw. It kind of, you know, ignores everything that happened except for the first one. Scream didn't do that. But that's because Scream is so damn meta. They're not going to ignore. They need that mythology.
But they make fun of it. I mean, even calling the Scream 5 Scream is kind of poking fun at Texas Chainsaw, poking fun at Halloween.
It's poking fun of Halloween is what I think they
mostly,
were doing.
yeah. But I mean, the idea of requels isn't new. I mean, H2O did it where it erased everything from 3 on up until then. And then Texas Chainsaw, Jesus, that series has been requelled. Every single Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie has, after 3 or 4 maybe, has basically gone back and been like, all right, we're going back to the 70s. We're erasing everything from there.
They've tried to restart it, forgetting all the sequels. Is this the 3rd time they've tried it or the 4th?
4th, maybe.
Yeah, they just keep trying. And the thing is, it almost, the Texas Chainsaw movies to me kind of have to be treated as individual movies about the same family, the Sawyer family, you know. And it's when, like, what was the one that came right after the 2003? Was that the beginning?
Yeah, the beginning.
It was the beginning.
Yeah, that one was dull to me. But I love the 2003 one, which was a straight remake of the original, pretty much. And
I still got to see those.
You haven't seen the 2003 one with the
no.
You're okay.
I haven't seen the Platinum Dunes Texas Chainsaw.
You need to see that one. That one's amazing. The other ones you could probably, the beginning you could probably skip.
Jay and I are on very opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to the 2003 Texas Chainsaw.
The 2003 one I thought was, the thing is, no one was more skeptical than me when that was announced. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? Come on, you can't remake something. But it got me. It scared the shit out of me. And I thought it was incredible. I can't believe you don't like it.
But back to requels and not just remakes. But I mean, yeah, you had Texas Chainsaw 3D. You had there was another one in there. I'm not as big of a fan of this Texas Chainsaw as a series. 2 is still my favorite just because of how bonkers it is. There's no better needle drop than Oingo Boingo's "No One Lives Forever" while yuppies are getting cut up. But you know, requels, I know it's very popular now, especially since 2018's Halloween, but it has been going on for a very long time. You know, again, H2O and all that. And now David Gordon Green is doing it with the Exorcist series. They're supposed to be requeling that, but they already did it, and they did it fantastically with the Exorcist TV series that was on Fox for 2 seasons. That one they basically ignored all the sequels and created this great story that harkens back to the original Possession with Reagan and infused it with like this big conspiracy within the church. There's like literally a point where a priest is talking to a cardinal and he goes, "Has the church been compromised?" And it's just like, it's like, what is up with this secret like spy unit of the church of, you know, they're spies and exorcists. It's really awesome. And then it worked as an anthology series where each season was going to follow a different family, and they canceled it after 2 seasons. I will never be not pissed about that. But yeah, what are some of your guys' favorite requels that have come out?
Well, to go with the obvious, I've been a big fan of the David Gordon Green Halloween requels franchise. I really loved Halloween, and I really enjoyed Halloween Kills, and looking forward to Halloween Ends. And, you know, it's just kind of a distillation of the franchise and, you know, just you know, even though it was a direct continuation from the original Halloween, it kind of kept in style with the later ones with just Michael going ape on people. And I do like the idea that, you know, the first 2 movies take place over the course of one Halloween night. And I guess we'll see what happens with Halloween Ends. And of course, it's always great to see Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie. And I've seen both of them in theaters, and both of them were good. I really like them.
Yeah, I like Halloween a lot. I wasn't as big a fan of Halloween Kills. I thought it just got kind of goofy, and the whole, torches and pitchforks thing that they had going. But
I like that.
Oh, I loved it.
I think Halloween 2018 was terrific. And remember, the original Halloween 1 and 2 all took place over the same Halloween night too. So it's kind of following that. So maybe for Halloween Kills, he'll go completely different and do a Halloween 3. No, I don't.
Season of the Witch. Surprise.
Surprise. Halloween Ends as Season of the Witch Part 2. That would be incredible.
That would be awesome.
But what about Leprechaun? Because Leprechaun has been done like, I think it got the requel twice.
It did with Steven Kostanski, Leprechaun Returns. That was a really good one too.
And then it also got like a remake prequel with Origins.
Yeah.
That was not as good. No.
The other one that was really good that I really loved was Candyman, which that's actually pretty straight requel, because it pretty much is the same as the first movie, but they take the first movie's mythology. So it is a sequel because all that first movie shit with Helen's actually happened, but it's pretty much the same movie. It's just, insert black artist instead of white researcher,
Yeah. And it was done fantastically because
great.
It did ignore 2 and 3, which I still need to watch 3. Sorry. Day of the Dead. I haven't watched it yet, even though I own 2 copies now, weirdly. But that one was absolutely fantastic. And continuing and improving on a lot of the themes and what the first movie was trying to do. And it successfully avoided Candyman becoming because Candyman was never a Freddy Krueger. Candyman was never or at least intended to be a Jason Voorhees type character. He had his mythology, he had his origins, all that stuff, but he was more of just the idea of the urban myth and mythology that we tell at fires and stuff. And so I thought that one was an incredible continuation on those themes, whereas Candyman 2 was very much so like, oh yeah, now Candyman's kind of a slasher, Yeah.
But Candyman 2, I liked Candyman 2, The Farewell to the Flesh, because it is it's like his origin story.
Yeah.
And that's why I like that. I don't know that I've seen Day of the Dead myself. I would probably have to start watching it and then see if I remember it or not. I'm not.
Was Day of the Dead the one in New Orleans?
They both were. Both sequels were. Yeah.
How come Candyman didn't fight Jean Claude Van Damme?
That's the movie.
Why didn't he fight Chance Bordeaux? Chance Bordeaux against what's his name? Daniel Robitaille. Let's do it.
Hard Target 3.
Hard Candyman.
Just call it Hard Candy.
Yes.
Wait a minute. That movie's been made.
That is. Oh man, Hard Candy was great. Elliot Page. God damn. That was a performance.
Yeah, but come on, Jean Claude Van Damme versus Candyman.
We need it.
It could happen.
That's the next requel.
I was going to say, actually, another favorite requel of mine was Terminator Dark Fate. The one where Sarah Connor comes back, and it's interesting because it was post T2, and it just kind of was like they did win in T2, but now the timeline is shifted, so now it's this other person is the Sarah Connor, and Sarah Connor has to help her. And I don't know. Is it okay if I say a spoiler?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that they team up with Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800 again. I thought that one was very underrated and did an excellent job in continuing the franchise. I
don't think that's really a spoiler. I think that was like the plot of the movie that Schwarzenegger's Terminator helped them.
Yeah. The spoiler would be revealing how that Terminator came to be in the timeline and its story. So we avoided the good spoilers, but no, Dark Fate I saw that opening weekend in IMAX, and I was so pissed that it did not do as well as it did, because that was hands down the best Terminator anything since T2.
Exactly.
And there's been a lot of Terminator content that has come out since T2. And this blew it all out of the park. It addressed a lot of the issues with the original mythology. A lot of people are like, oh, it's convoluted. It's like, first of all, time travel is always going to be convoluted because you create rules and you break them constantly. So at least this one had fun with it. and it wasn't afraid to go to places that previous versions weren't. One aspect of it is very spoilery, but what they do with John Connor in Dark Fate is very like you would never do that in the originals, but they did do like really terrible stuff with that, like making him a Terminator in like two of the fucking previous reboots. That's another series that's been requelled a lot with Genesis and Salvation kind of, and
Terminator 3 T3.
Was that a requel or was that just a...
Oh, well, no, that was a straight up continuation, but
I don't remember anything from that except the deleted scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger had a terrible Southern accent.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But what do you guys see this trend continuing? Like, do you think that every major horror franchise needs a requel?
Well, it's interesting. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I feel like it's just kind of the nature of trends with horror franchises. Because, I'm thinking back, here's how we ended up here, because the original trend in the 80s and 90s was direct to video. And, either to control rights or, just because it was cheaper. So many horror franchises ended up with a ridiculous amount of horror sequels, usually direct to video or in theaters or, just keep it on going. So
especially Hellraiser was super guilty of that.
Jesus. Yeah. So, that's the thing. It's like how, so a lot of times it's just you can't really salvage something that's been run into the ground. So you got to start fresh, especially if it's a franchise has been kind of on pause for a while, or it's just got so many ridiculous ass sequels there's nowhere else to go. So I feel like it's like the trends are circling. It's like a domino effect or something. So I do think that requels, especially since there have been a decent amount of successful ones, will be kind of the trend for the immediate future. But what comes after, who knows?
Speaking of franchises that have gone off the rails, did you guys see that there's now an Amityville in space coming?
Yes. Oh my God.
I don't care.
You knew it was coming though.
Yeah. I love the poster. It's just a house in space
with like a menacing face asteroid as its base part. Well,
I mean, that's the thing. Amityville is a loose franchise because just any schmuck can put Amityville in their title because it's copyright free.
Well, that's how we end up with movies like Amityville Island,
Amityville Shark, Amityville Werewolf.
Oh, that's so clever. Amityville movies. They never got better than the Haunted Item series. Those four.
The Curse Collection.
And then the parody, the adult one, which I don't know if we go there on this podcast, but anyways, but I mean, like it makes sense. There's like you were touching upon, Jacob, there's definitely a fatigue that happens. But usually it just turns to a straight remake. So like to the Halloween franchise, you got the fatigue by 6. And so they did the requel with H2O, where it picks up from 2 on, and you got all that recon. And then you had an immediate fatigue with Halloween Resurrections, which led to the Rob Zombie movies, which again, there was just like an immediate fatigue with the second film. It kept happening with that franchise. And so I think 2018 was the way to go. But I don't know if, and I get that people are scared to do a straight up remake, especially after the era of remakes that Texas Chainsaw kicked off with, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, where, Friday the 13th, that's a legal battle that's keeping that franchise from coming back. But with Nightmare on Elm Street, like it did decent at the box office, but like, man, did it get dragged through the mud through the series with the reviews.
It's a horrible movie.
Yeah,
man, it's not great.
Don't tell me you like that one.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, so we agree on that.
No, we agree on that one. But even Friday the 13th remake was more of like a reboot of the entire series, because that movie felt like the Jason movie that you remember but never was made. It was like a greatest hits almost.
It's almost a remake of parts 2 and 3.
Yeah,
because first of all, Jason's the killer. Spoiler alert for a movie that's 45 years old. Jason's the killer, and he's got the hockey mask. So it's basically, it's a remake of 2 and 3. But I like that Friday the 13th remake.
Me too. Derek Mears was a fantastic Jason.
Also, My Bloody Valentine 3D was a fantastic and fun time. So, I mean, It's one of those questions where it's like, does this trend need to keep going? Do you think it should be put in the grave? Like I said before, I'm a huge fan of the Exorcist TV series. And I think that that's the perfect example of doing a requel right. And that's fully changing the format, fully changing everything, and like having that bit of a connection to the original. But for every Exorcist the series, there's also Damien, which was the Omen series, which fantastic premise. I 100% want a shot at redoing that series, but man, that execution was it rough? I think it was made for A&E, which is like, why is this on that?
Yeah.
But also Hannibal the series was kind of in that line too, because it was a prequel to Red Dragon, but also incorporated a lot of bits and pieces and storylines from the different books and whatnot. So I honestly think that if they're going to keep doing requels, we need to continue making TV shows of it. What do you guys think?
I could definitely see TV becoming a trend again, especially with streaming platforms. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to gauge because, like basically a lot of these franchises are starting fresh. But now that you mention it, there's also the Fede Alvarez standalone Alien movie that was just announced. And on top of that, they're doing that simultaneously with the Noah Hawley Alien TV show for Hulu. So it does seem like that could be a similar trend.
Fede Alvarez did the Evil Dead requel, I guess.
Right.
I mean,
a remake.
Well, yeah, but I think it takes place in the same universe though, because
it does because of the stinger.
Yeah.
But that one, we thought it was a remake. We thought it was a requel. And then at the last second, they were like, nope, this is just a sequel. We fucked with all of you.
That's kind of what the Exorcist TV show did until Gina Davis shows up and you're like, okay, now I'm on board.
You mean when Gina Davis truly shows up?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
She's phenomenal in that. I could do an entire episode on that series. I'm rewatching it right now. It's so fucking good. But I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted the topic this week to be Texas Chainsaw and requels is because I don't know about you guys, but when it was first announced and saw the trailers and all that, I was like, does this series need it? Like, are we at that tipping point? I mean, Scream 5 just came out and just totally like tore apart and, pointed out every trope with requels going from Star Wars to, the horror franchises. And now that we have TCM doing it and Halloween, it's like, I know we have, 2 competing Hellraiser projects coming out soon too. We have a series and a movie.
Here's I think we are going to see a lot of them. And here's why. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre has laid the groundwork because basically whether people loved it or hated it, they watched it. And it was on Netflix. So Netflix, it was the most watched show on Netflix for that week. And I think I saw somewhere, I mean, there were millions and millions of people watched it. And that's all they care about. They don't care about the reviews. They care about eyeballs on the screen.
Yeah.
So as long as the platforms are going to release them, as long as the Hulus and the Netflixes and the Amazon Primes are going to show these shows, and it's unfortunate because they won't care about the quality. They're just going to care about initial buzz and then go from there because they don't have to worry about making money at the box office because Netflix stuff is technically free, even though it isn't, but people consider it free because they're already paying for Netflix. So they just want the eyeballs on the screen. And that's what buzz gets you.
And that's why they just need to get the right people behind it. I mean, Jordan Peele came on very early on to produce Candyman. And then with Child's Play, it's a really weird thing on how they had the remake, happen. And then now we have the awesome TV show going on at the same time. I think each franchise needs something different, let there be a whole mess of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I like it when I like how that series was never consistent and was always weird. Next Generation is like a weird, I love it. It's no TCM2, but hey.
Okay. I just had a brilliant idea for a TV show. Okay. This is like one of those nature, nature, like a crocodile hunter kind of a thing, but it's Jaws. A Jaws TV show but it's shot like a reality show where they're hunting the shark and the shark just ends up just eating the crap out of all of them. Oh yeah. Someone make that.
I thought
give me money to make it.
I thought you were going to say like a Night of the Demon show where it's like they're hunting for like an animal, but it turns out to be a penis ripping off Sasquatch. Or it would be like it'd be like a Steve Irwin type parody show, and then all of a sudden they encounter the beast, the boar from
Razorback.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have penis ripping off Sasquatch be the final thought for this episode. Let's get the hell out of here. So what are your favorite requels? What did we miss? What are we not appreciating enough? People tell Korea how he's wrong about the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Again, it's
or tell me that I'm wrong if it's not your thing.
Or tell us that we're all wrong.
Yeah. Because how boring would the world be if we all had the same opinion? Mm-hmm. What are your favorite requels? Let's hear it. Our theme music is from Restless Spirits, so you should go and hear them too. Our artwork is from Chris Fisher. You should treat your eyeballs to some of his art. You can find us on any and all social media platforms, except I don't think that Korea's made our grinder yet. But you can find us on all those, and you can find us on iHorror.com, which is the site that we all call home. And let's call this one an episode. So until the requel in 2 weeks.
And don't forget to vote for us in the Rondo Hot and Classics Horror Awards. We're very proud of this nomination.
Take a few minutes and vote for us for the Rondos. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. So for me, James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
And I'm Jonathan Correa.
Keep your eye on horror.